Recently, I was paid out $3,187.72 in a single day. And I'm not saying that this is every single day and it's like some absurd amount that I'm able to get every single day just yet. I know it's 100% possible. And in this video, I want to show how you could replicate this exact same process and exactly how I did it myself. Now, obviously, if I did this every single day, it would be like 100K a month, which is obviously ideal. But there are always bottlenecks in the business. And I'll show you exactly why I'm not able to make this currently in a single day. And I'll show you the exact changes that I'll make so that it is possible in the future. But I want to show you exactly how you can get to this exact amount yourself. Obviously, not the exact amount, but how you can actually get a multiple four-figure deal in a single day for yourself. Okay. And this is obviously, don't steal my credit card number, but this was paid 2 days ago. Okay, I'm recording this on the 11th of April and it was only paid out 2 days ago. Okay, and I wanted to make this video because I think it's really important to share. And so, what this actually looks like, right, is that I spent Instagram profile visit, I had to spend $368. Okay, and in return got $3,187.72. And what that means is that it's 8.66 times ROAS, return on ad spend, meaning that for every dollar that I put into these ads, into getting more followers, as you can see, I only have 459 followers. It's not an absurd amount. It's not like I have 10,000 followers, and I have never bought followers in my entire life, and I probably never will unless I think it's beneficial. But for now, I grew all my following with ads, with organic content, and have been able to convert these people and essentially spent $1 and got a return of $8.66 in return. And what that means is that this is a sort of money printer. And obviously the money printer will not always be functioning at its perfect, like at its best. It'll always have some errors. And that's what the whole purpose of being a founder, being a CEO, and being someone who owns a business has to do. You have to fix these problems. But in order to get to this stage, these are the exact processes that I've gone through. And towards the end, I'll actually show you what I did to identify my bottlenecks and how I'm going to actually fix it. Because this is a documentation of my journey as a consultant in the SMMA space, coaching other consultants and coaches and showing them how that I do this exactly myself and how they can do it themselves as well. But essentially, the first thing that we have to do is craft your perfect offer. Okay, craft something that people genuinely want. Okay, and what that means is that you need to do market research. You need to understand the problems that people have in your niche. Okay, what problems do they have? Is it booking calls? Is it losing fat? Is it gaining muscle? Is it not knowing the ins and out of property? Okay, investment property. And so once you understand their problems, you can understand their psychographics. How are they thinking? How do they feel every single day when they're facing these problems? Does it actually annoy them so much? Does it annoy them that they can't lose that fat off of their stomach? Does it annoy them that they can't or know the information that they need to have to make the right hires, to hire the A players into their team and actually drive more sales for their business? What is it that they're actually struggling with? And you will only know until that's actually revealed to you, or you actually ask these people who you want to work with. You ask yourself, you do some reflection if you were in that position before. You ask ChatGPT, you go on YouTube, you go on Twitter, you read, you gather as much information as you can so you understand whether or not these people actually have a problem. And then the next thing is that you actually need to have the right solution for them. You have to ask them and ask yourself and continually reflect on whether or not you can actually solve their problem. Okay? Because if you understand their problems and you don't have the right solution for that, it's pointless. Because if you're offering something completely different to what they actually need, and they'll never buy from you. Okay. When it comes to, you know, my actual experiences, when I'm hopping on sales calls, when I'm hopping on discovery calls, and I look at their face and they're like, Matt, this is genuinely something that I need. Okay. Putting someone in that position takes a lot of reflection. It takes a lot of thought because you can't just copy someone else's process, copy someone else's systems and offer and expect someone to react the exact same way. Because even if people react positively, you may not even be able to fill it. And then eventually there will always be some issue later on the pipeline. I think of it as like a pipe, okay? A plumbing pipe where there are multiple holes. You can patch as many holes as you want, but if there are still some holes, it's still going to leak, okay? Now, obviously, ideally, you want to replace the entire pipe. But initially, when you're just working with someone, you're working with a client, and you're just working with your business, you want to solve these small problems first. And the offer is a small problem which has such a large effect on the rest of the pipeline. Okay, and I really can't stress it enough. The next thing is purchasing power. Do these people actually have enough cash? Okay, if they don't have enough cash, how can you offer them something that is multiple four figures and they can't afford it? Okay, for example, if you're as a fitness coach, right, you're working with someone who is, let's say they are a student, they're in university. Why are you working with broke uni students? Uni students, unless they, have a trust fund or something, they're probably not going to have cash. So why are you working specifically with these people? Why aren't you picking business owners? Why aren't you picking entrepreneurs? And the same thing with, like, for example, a content agency. If you're a content agency, why are you charging 4K for a video which isn't producing a direct return on someone's spend on you? They're investing 4,000 for your 30 reels, for your one YouTube video or two YouTube videos or whatever, but you're not getting them a direct monetary feedback and return on their investment on you. Does that make sense? And so understanding purchasing power and the return of investment someone can have once they spend money on you will drastically improve the how do you even describe it? It's how palatable it is, your offer, for someone to actually, want to buy into. And the last thing is, how can you quickly resolve someone's pain? Okay. And this is a part of Alex Hormozi's equation. I don't want to bore you with that because I'm sure you've heard of it so many times, but I really thought that this one was an incredibly important point, because if someone, for example, joins my consultancy as a client, they are going to get some results within at least 2 weeks. That's if they're not a beginner, right? I mean, even if they're a beginner and we craft out an offer that they genuinely understand, they have the right skills for, then we can still get them some book calls and potentially some booked a client. But if someone who wants to work with me, for example, within 2 weeks, I already have small systems in place to get them some calls booked, to get them some clients, because there's no point of them going through the entire months of work, of calls with me, one-on-one calls, and then getting some clients and then getting some results. We get people results quickly. And it's the same thing that you have to do for yourself. If you're a coach, you want your clients to get some wins, like gradually, so that they're not only motivated to continue, but also they see a return instantly once they actually become your client. So it's just so important to really hone in client results. Okay. The next thing, and I'll touch on briefly, I'm sure you already know, is determine the right platform for you. Because if you're targeting, let's say, mums on Snapchat, you're just in the wrong niche, you're in the wrong platform. Okay. Maybe not the wrong niche, but the wrong platform for sure. Okay. It doesn't make sense at all if you don't understand where your clients are majorly sitting in. If you're targeting professionals, why are you not using LinkedIn to do that? Okay. It doesn't make sense at all. Just because you see someone else, okay, with a similar offer, use Instagram for their offer, doesn't mean you should copy them as well. Because maybe in the front end, it might be looking good. They're getting some clients and some cash. But in the back end, it's a nightmare. Their reply rate is horrible. They're not sending that many calendars out. They're not booking that many calls. But for the calls that they're booking, they might be closing them. But the quality of leads and the amount of struggle that they're probably going through might be a lot. And so that's just some insight on, what I've experienced myself, just targeting the wrong platforms and just not having the right people in place. But obviously now I do. So the next thing is your messaging on social media. How do you position yourself on social media? How do you position yourself, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on YouTube? Are you the authority? Do people come to you and actually find value in your content? Are you authentic? Are you genuine? In my videos, I try to be as genuine, as authentic as I can, sharing my experiences. And if I don't come across that way, then that's my fault. I apologize to absolutely nobody. Just kidding. But shout out to Conor McGregor. But essentially, just sharing my experiences and just documenting my journey has done so much for me. And people can really just connect with you. And making content, I know there's just so many gurus out there, there's so many coaches, there's so many consultants. But when you share your genuine self and you share your thoughts, that's really all you can do. And if people read that as being disingenuous or not authentic, then that's just their fault. But if you, in your heart, you genuinely try to share your life, you try to share as much value as you can, then there is no reason for you to not be confident within yourself, within your content, and then for that to be able to connect with someone in the future to bridge that gap, to bridge that, geographical gap that, you have the distance, like the physical distance between you and that person, but then, have them trust you. And then in the future, later on, potentially signing up them as your client or having them on a low ticket offer as well, or a high ticket or whatever, but genuinely sharing your life and not cheating, not being a scammer. And, you know, I don't even want to say some names, but the way that you treat people, the way that you interact with people on a low scale, even in the DMs, okay, on calls that I sometimes hop on with for free, like I just give away free value. And so personal branding is personal. People genuinely will see you for who you are. And, how well you do that will determine the result that you get within 1 week, 1 month, 1 year, 10 years. No one will know. But someone in the future will come back to this video and see this moment and see how I have changed and improved myself. Or, in someone else's case, how someone has deteriorated and, just decreased their aura over the years. Okay. Now, the next thing is dialing in client acquisition. Okay. You have your offer, you have your platform. How can we actually get some clients? Okay, it's really, really simple. So you want to have a dialed in messaging, as I said, be an authority, know exactly what you want to say and who you're working with. Okay. And then once that you have that in place, you can implement setters, commission based setters. So I have my amazing setter who is on a commission basis, and I pay him generously because I love that guy, man. He's great. And so by paying these setters, they're able to set these meetings for you, book these calls for you. And all you have to do is hop on a call and have a conversation, just like we are right now, and figuring out whether or not someone actually has a problem. Now, you can also outsource it to VAs and also bots. And there are so many softwares that you can use. And if you want the software that I use, which sends out hundreds of DMs, and actually, no, as you can see, thousands of DMs, then let me know and I can share that with you possibly if you want to. But dialing in client acquisition just means that you have all of these things in place. Okay, just because you're sending out all these messages will not convert. Okay, it doesn't matter if you don't have these in place: the right platform, the right messaging, and also the right offer. Okay, and then the second last thing is to have unmatched fulfillment. And before I spoke about this, about client results and making sure that when you work with your clients, you get them some quick wins and ultimately get them that massive win that they signed up for. Okay, and so this is honestly recently something that I've been really dialing in on. And it's honestly like if you look at, these arrows and these notes, by improving all of these aspects here, it improves the aspects in front of it. Okay. It improves the flywheel and the mechanisms in front, but also improving these aspects as well. It feeds back into, it's honestly just a flywheel. Okay. It's like a cycle which feeds back on itself. But essentially, by having unmatched fulfillment and getting really good client results, okay, you actually, for me, getting my clients, some cash back, which we do amazingly well. Okay. It feeds back into client acquisition. It makes client acquisition much more smoothly. It makes sales much more smoothly. It makes, messaging on social media much more smoothly. You can actually talk about numbers that you deal with. You can talk about, the platforms that are working well. You can talk about how your offers are doing well, but you can only have that once you have really good fulfillment. Obviously, these things are what you build up in the first place to, get some traction, but ultimately getting the best client results and the best fulfillment will make all of this, and especially your sales calls, much more easily. Because on the calls myself, if you've ever experienced, me on calls, I will never chase. Okay, I only attract. And what that means, it's not some weird relationship thing. It's literally that I don't chase. If someone doesn't want my product, then I'm not going to try and sell them. Obviously, I will try to handle the objection. I will try to help them understand if what they're thinking is genuinely a cold hard truth, if they actually don't need my product, and I'll figure that out. But what I mean by that is I have really strong client results, which I rely on because they speak more than what I could ever describe, myself, or any words could describe. And so I let them speak, you know, way more and um, I guess larger volumes than I could ever say, right? And what that means is that when I'm on those calls, I just show them my client results. I just show them our systems. And I actually go through a bit of the back end so like they know that I'm not lying. And so by doing that, by showing the unmatched fulfillment and client results, they just have utter belief and confidence that I can get them there. And if eventually they don't buy, it's because either they're not financially qualified, which is why I still give them value on the calls, and so many people have appreciated that. And if you don't believe me, I can literally just send you a Fathom call, a recording of that. But people, if they don't buy, they understand now that Matt is a legitimate person who delivers results for people, and that just goes back into your branding, your personal branding, and that'll do so much for you. If they don't buy now, then it'll be something in the future, either another high ticket offer or a low ticket. Okay, it's really that simple. By simply providing value to people in the market, there's just no reason or no doubt for you to fail. Okay, and the final thing is rinse and repeat. And as I promised, I'm going to tell you what my bottlenecks are right now. Okay, and make sure you track your KPIs. So, for example, for me, tracking my KPIs means tracking how many people reply to my messages on here with the bot, how many calendars that I sent out, how many looms I sent out, how many people have viewed the loom, the completion rate of the loom, are they watching the entire loom, the amount of calendars I've sent, the amount of booked calls we've sent, the amount of people who have showed up, the amount of closed calls that we've got. Okay, people who are not interested as well. We track everything. We track everything. Okay, and so my bottlenecks right now is that all I need to do is literally spend more money on these ads and create more organic content to increase my following. As you can see, I've made a 3K day with 459 followers. I mean, I'm not lying. Go on my page right now. By the time you're watching this video, it will have probably increased. But this was at the time in which I got this result, right? And so that's really it. That's genuinely really it. I need to make more content. I need to post more ads, and you'll see this following go up. And this ROAS, it's going to increase 3, 4 times than that. For every dollar I spend, I'll get $24 back plus. Okay. There's no doubt in my mind in which I would get that. Okay. And that's my bottleneck. Just spending more time on content, making more content, okay, giving more value to the market for absolutely free. Okay. All my videos, all the lead magnets that I literally make are so much value. And in the name, lead magnet has a bit of a stigma, but I genuinely believe, and I have so many videos in the past which show you how to book calls, which show you how to get leads and all this stuff. I genuinely believe that it'll provide so much value to you that one day you'll have no doubt that I could help you in the future. And that's really all I intend to do. So that's really it. Hope you had a good day. I hope you found some value. Bye bye.